And tonight, in the next 60 minutes, top management of WAEC in an emergency meeting to decide the fate of over 400,000 candidates whose results are hanging in the balance after government paid some 25 million cedis to defray its debt owed to the council.
This we are going to use in settling our indebtedness to our technicians. So once we pay this money, we are going to be able to negotiate with them.
There's more unfolding tonight. We'll bring you details. Plus, there's politics as the National Democratic Congress is tonight accusing the Electoral Commission of engaging in illegality by recollecting electoral results of 7 disputed constituencies, vowing to pursue the commission until it reverses this very decision.
The law doesn't talk of a deputy returning officer. So where they have gotten it from, that's why I'm saying the Electoral Commission, in fact, is fast becoming the most lawless institution in Ghana. They just sit down there and do things that suit them.
Stay with us. There's a lot looming tonight. Drama is set to hit the 9th Parliament as embattled parliamentary candidates from the NDC in the disputed constituencies are also vowing to take their seats come January 7.
So far as I'm concerned, the returning officer declared the Rabna Obin as the MP-elect for Ablekman.
Eventually, on December 6th, we'll see how we proceed with these things.
You go to Parliament for,
Of course.
Also tonight, leadership of the New Patriotic Party commissions a postmortem following the unfavorable outcome of the 2024 presidential and parliamentary elections. Tonight, we hear from the party's chairperson vowing to make a strong comeback in 2028.
The party will, in the months of January 2025, set up an effective and objective election review committee to undertake a postmortem into the outcome of the election.
And away from all of the politics, don't forget that the festive season is also here. The clock is ticking close to Joy FM's family party in the park as we take you on that nostalgic journey from some thrilled patrons at last year's event.
Whole year it's been working, going up and down. We've been busy, so we've decided to use today to have fun.
Very, very exciting. It's my first time, and I'm so glad to be here.
Now, calls intensify for Bank of Ghana to increase capital requirement of commercial banks to strengthen their financial position. We'll hear from economist Dr. Benjamin Amor.
And in sports, leadership of the Ghana Football Association calls on President-elect John Dramani Mahama to prioritize investment in key areas to unearth world-class talent.
And indeed, the man Musbao will be back later on with sports. My name is Blessed. I'm doing this with
Mami Sinyamiche Thompson. Please stay.
And tonight, you may want to call it an education sector in crisis as the top management of the West Africa Examination Council, WAEC, is saying now, as we speak, an emergency meeting to decide the fate of over 400,000 candidates whose results are pending following government indebtedness to the council. The scheduled date for the release of the results expired last week due to the significant outstanding debt of some 118 million Ghana cedis owed the council by government. The Ministry of Education last Friday released some 25 million cedis to enable WAEC resume marking of the scripts. But the PRO for WAEC, John Kapi, says the council is actively negotiating with its technicians to expedite repairs on their scanners and also to resume the processing of these results.
So yes, it is true. The government has released a check for an amount of 25 billion Ghana cedis. This we are going to use in settling our indebtedness to our technicians. So once we pay this money, we are going to be able to negotiate with them and ensure that they would come and do some of the work that we needed to do on the scanners. And then from that particular point, I believe that we'll be in a good position to continue with the processing of the results.
Well, ranking member on the Education Committee of Parliament, Peter Kwesi Nochukotoi, however, says the funds paid to WAEC is only insufficient or sufficient, I beg your pardon, to cover the repair of broken down scanners.
My information was that last week the Minister of Education released 25 million Ghana cedis to them, and that could only pay for the repairs of the broken down scanners, which they owed the company that repaired them for WAEC some time ago. And the company is at the same time demanding down payment for any further repairs. My information also is that WAEC needs at least 60 million to enable it release the results at a date to be fixed later. And they have been given 25 million. They needed additional 35 million.
Well, so that's the outstanding amount we're dealing with. So what's been the outcome of this meeting with WAEC, and what's the Parliamentary Select Committee on Education planning to do, as there's no end in sight as to when exactly these results might come out? Let's bring in John Kapi. John Kapi is the PR for WAEC. Also joining us tonight is a ranking member on Parliament's Education Committee. Really very short time for parliamentary duties now, knowing that their activities will resume on January 2. Ranking member, I'll come to you shortly. But let's hear from you, John, first of all, because there's been a meeting, engagements have been taking place now. Is there a final date now in terms of when these results will be released?
Good evening and thanks for having me. Yes, we were at work today, even though we're supposed to be on our Christmas break. The head of office and the director of finance were able to engage with the minister this morning. Some assurances were given that some money to be released to us to be able to continue with our work. So with the 25 million cedis that we've received, we've been able to assure the technicians that yes, that 25 million is meant for them for previous work done. And so, as we speak, they have come, they have assessed the machines. They've managed to tweak a few of them, and we've started using them. So this evening, we have had to recall some people from their break to come and continue with the scanning of the objective answer cards.
And so, actually, give us a sense of how much work you have to do now for the results to be out. The belief is that with the release of this 25 million, you would have set sail to, quite a considerable marching towards releasing the results. But you say that you still have so much more work to be done. What more do you have to do on this?
Well, as we speak, the scanning has to be done. We have some examiners also who are, scrutinizing some scripts. Candidates who were suspected to have been involved in some examination malpractice that examiners discovered. And so we want to ascertain the veracity of those, allegations. So we ask examiners to scrutinize those scripts. So they are actively doing that right now. Our hope is that in the next few days they'll be done. We'll have to pay them. Now, if you look at the candidature we have, we certainly would need a bigger bandwidth to upload the results online, and that also calls for money. We have invigilators, we have supervisors, we have script checkers to pay. And then we have suppliers of examination materials as well. Now, so these are things that we need to be able to settle. But at least if there's anything that is directly related to the examination, it has to do with the scanning of the objective answer cards, the scrutiny that is going on, and then being able to pay to get a wider bandwidth to upload the results.
So is it your assurance that with or without government extra or further commitments, the results will be out?
Well, what we received some assurances that they will release some money in the next day or two. Now, so we have been able to speak with the technicians, but then if this one is not forthcoming and they decide not to continue, then we'll be back to where we were. So
and how much are we how much are we talking about here?
Well, they have indicated that they would need to procure some replaceable parts, and then also there will be some extensive work. Some of them have been written off. Some of the scanners have been written off. So, no, I need to have to understand their technical language before I can tell, the amount of time they will need to fix them. But then at least they managed to tweak, I think, about 3 of them. And so work will start tonight with the scanning of the objective answer cards. And we have to run slowly because they are not, fully fit, as it were.
And I know that we need to bring in Honorable Nochukutu, who's been with us for quite some time now. But just respond to this final one for me, if you may. The perception that you're holding students to ransom, of course, trying as much as possible to use this as a leverage, negotiating tool for you to get all of the outstanding monies you have with government paid. Is that a correct notion to hold about what's happening now?
No, that's a very unfortunate statement to make because when we received a check for 25 million cedis, we wrote back immediately to the minister asking that they give us send us another about 35 million cedis. That would have taken us to about 60 million. And so 60 million out of 118, we haven't got all the money, but we thought that with that amount, we'll be able to guarantee payment for the work that is going to be done. We'll be able to guarantee payment to the people who are doing the scrutiny. We'll be able to pay for the bandwidth so that we can upload the results. And so at least those who are doing things around the results for an immediate release will be able to carry out their job, and then we'll go ahead and release. So, I mean, it's unfortunate for anyone to say that we are holding them to ransom because in any case, for some of us who are staff at the council, we also have awards who have written the examination, and the results have also, not been released.
I see. That's an interesting perspective then, which means that this is cross-cutting. The effects also biting hard on some of you who work for WAEC itself. And that's why it's a good time to bring in the ranking member on the Education Committee, Peter Nochukutu, who's joining us now. Thank you, sir, for your time. Your flag bearer now, President-elect, says the education sector in itself is in crisis, given what's happening regards WAEC. And, of course, now we have Conference of Heads of Teachers also demanding further payments. Looking at the outstanding amounts involved, what's the proposition now in terms of solution from your end?
Yeah, thank you very much. And let me say that it is unfortunate that WAEC has to go through all these difficulties and challenges. It is very worrisome that candidates have written their examinations and they will have to unduly wait because of the inability of government to release funds for or to WAEC to be able to carry out its functions. This has happened in the last 3-4 years, and I think it's unfortunate and we have to condemn it. My appeal to the Minister for Education is that they should, as a matter of urgency, release money to them. The Minister has not prioritized WAEC in any form. They receive money either monthly and quarterly. Why has he not made provisions for WAEC? He will only wait until the Committee on Education begins to make noise that this is what is happening at WAEC before he will release money. You remember what happened during the BEC. We had to talk before 55 million Ghana cedis was released to WAEC. But for that, then the the BEC results would have also been duly delayed. Now, they need at least 50 million Ghana cedis to do their work. You gave them 25. My information is that he has promised them 20 million. How soon is he going to release that? When will the balance of 15 that they needed to make it 60 will also be released? He has not told us anything. So for me, the ball is in the court of the minister. It is not WAEC that is holding anybody to ransom. It is the Ministry of Education that is holding Ghanaians or the candidates to ransom. So I feel it is just because they feel they are going out of power. So whatever happens, they don't care. Whether the students get their results released or not, they don't care. I think that is what is disturbing or what they are planned to do. Now, if you look at the Charles letter to the minister, it is also worrisome. We have said this several times. Parliament approved money for the free senior high school. You have a secretariat. Release money to the secretariat or release money direct to the schools. Decentralize the procurement of food items so that money is sent directly to the schools so that you hold them accountable for whatever wrong they will do. Now, you are purchasing the food yourself or in Accra
and distributing to the schools. It is never effective. That is why corruption is so much in the system, the Ministry of Education, that it is difficult to understand. But I can promise you that on taking office, President Mahama is going to make sure that this non-delay or non-release in the release of funds to run our educational institutions will be a thing of the past.
But I believe it's staring you in the face now, isn't it? Particularly when we know that even the Conference of Heads of Assisted Schools are already asking for funds to be released, else school may not reopen at the start of January. That's the reality that will be facing you when you take your turn in government. Do you have any plans already on dealing with some of these emerging issues?
I am very sure that when the appropriation bill is passed, if the interim one is passed for the first 3 months of this year, that is appropriation on account, we should be able to make funds available for the schools to begin to run. And I expect that when we come back on the 2nd January, this will be resolved so that monies can be released quickly to the schools. But it depends on the Minister for Education and the Minister for Finance, if they really have students who are in secondary schools at heart. You see, I don't know if they also have their wards in secondary schools in the country. If they had, I don't think they will be behaving the way they are doing. So it's very unfortunate, but things will be better after 7th of January.
Okay, and that's a promise we'll hold you to. Peter Notu Kotu is a ranking member on Parliament's Education Committee. Grateful to John Kapi, who speaks for the West Africa Examination Council.
Well, on the back of that statement, we focus a while longer on CHAS. The National Council of Parent-Teacher Association has criticized government over its long-standing indebtedness to senior high schools dating back to 2021. This comes as the Conference of Heads of Assisted Secondary Schools, CHAS, warned that schools are in no position to reopen as scheduled on January 3, 2025. The group says unpaid funds for essential services like utilities, perishable items, and food transportation have left schools on the brink of collapse and threatens to paralyze the upcoming academic calendar if these issues are not addressed urgently. Now, the parents are calling on government to urgently settle arrears. We'll hear from them shortly, but first, let's take a listen to the National Secretary of CHAS, Primus Barrow, explaining the gravity of the situation. He spoke to my colleague and Joy News editor, Fred Smith.
Certainly, you don't need to be told that the situation has been a very difficult one. I'm sure this is not the first time that the issue is coming before, especially your media house. These are issues that we have been talking about over the years at all levels, at our conferences and communications and what. So the situation has been a very difficult, a very tough one for us over the years. That is what summarily it means.
Just indicate to us overall how much CHAS is owed.
Yes, apart from pointing out the specific areas, we are unable, unfortunately, to put a figure on exactly the amount that is owed. This is simply because for some time now, I think for the past 3 years now, CHAS has not been engaged as far as the fee-fixing meetings have been concerned. I mean, what usually is the norm is that before the commencement of every academic year, we have what we call the fee-fixing committee. But for 3 years now or more, we have not been involved in it. Monies come to us. We are only able to tell how much is paid per student when the money is paid into their accounts. So it is extremely difficult. We've made a request, requesting for the figures with respect to the various fee items. Unfortunately, as we talk, we do not have those figures. So it is extremely difficult for us to quantify or to tell that this is how much is owed to CHAS.
So you've managed to run the schools with arrears from 2021. Why are you not able to continue?
Obviously, if you have been running on credit, a time comes your creditors, get fed up with you, and you go to them and they tell that from the look of things, it appears you have deceived us, quote and unquote, and we are unable to credit. In fact, it is not just this month. As you see in our letter, we've made reference to some letters that were written earlier on. In fact, we could refer to more. As late as 2022, 2023, we've been writing and engaging but we've now gotten to a level where it seems it's becoming impossible for us to do what we have been doing. We have equally rob Peter to pay Paul, because as you see from the trend of payments, it's the perishables that seem to be trickling in. It doesn't come in the quantum that we want, but that's what we're using to run both to carry out both the recurrent activities and both the feeding. And of course, that obviously had an effect on the quality of feeding, as you will recall, which I'm sure your honorable media house took over. Ran some commentary on some time ago. So that has been the situation. It was about borrowing and robbing Peter to pay Paul, but we've now gotten to a level that it is becoming impossible
to continue borrowing.
To borrow again.
And that interview there with Joy News editor Fred Smith. Well, there's more pressure piling on government to settle the areas. Deputy Ranking Member on Parliament's Education Committee, Dr. Clement Apak, says these are clear symptoms of the alien-free senior high school program.
Well, it clearly exposes what we in the NDC have been calling attention to for the past several years. That government has not been forthright and honest in its dealings as far as the free senior high school policy and its implementation are concerned. We don't understand why this should be the case, because every year since 2017, we have always honored by approving all requests and allocations made towards the implementation of the policy. So why government owes this much, to the extent that now heads of secondary schools are indicating that they won't be able to manage the schools if government does not defray outstanding indebtedness, is most shocking. It is either that the allocations that we have been approving over the past 8 years to finance the implementation of the policy is not being fully applied towards that particular purpose, or the funds required to implement the policy has not been disclosed to Ghanaians, because it doesn't make sense. Either way, it doesn't make sense to us at all. This should not be the case. And so Parliament at this point, I don't think can do much. We are better off advocating and then calling on Ghanaians to join us in putting pressure on the government to meet its obligations to the secondary schools so that the students can go back on the 3rd of January as scheduled. Well, the education sector is challenged, and the worst that can happen is that government would fail to mobilize the resources, and if that happens, as Charles has indicated, they will not advise that the academic calendar should resume. And mind you, we are dealing with this matter simultaneously, dealing with the issue of a delay in the release of the 2024 WAEC results. So clearly, when you combine these two, it is a clear testament that when we say the Akufo-Addo NPP government has failed woefully to manage the educational sector, these are yet examples to demonstrate.
You heard there Dr. Clement Apak, who is a member on Parliament's Education Committee. Well, joining us about now is General Secretary of the National Council of the Parent Teachers Association, Gapson Kofi. Kofi Raphael. He joins us now on the phone lines. Mr. Raphael, I just want to know from you, currently, has there been any form of communication of this stance by CHAS to you as parents? Hello? Mr. Gapson Kofi, can you hear me? Unfortunately, we don't seem to have him on the line yet, but blessed, as in this situation that's ongoing with the Conference of Heads of Assisted Senior High Schools really worrying. And we're trying to get the Parents Association to comment
indeed,
on the situation.
Because a number of concerns have been raised. And if you take a look at what's happening across the education sector, this transcends, the senior high school level, but also goes to the tertiary level, which we'll be talking about shortly. But we can now make another attempt just to see if we could get Gapson Kofi Raphael on, because there's a lot to unpack tonight as to what exactly the parents actually think about this and what the heads are equally doing about the situation.
Indeed. Mr. Raphael, can you hear me? If you can hear me now, I'm asking whether there's been any form of communication to you on CHAS's stance on this situation.
We don't seem to have gaps in Kofi on. We'll definitely
Indeed, we'll
get him,
back to him.
and perhaps explore that issue some more. But I was just talking about what's happening even at the tertiary level, because if you look at what's happening to the colleges of education teachers, for instance, CTAC, they are indicating that they would not show up in class when school reopens in the coming weeks after government failed to implement some staff migration and also pay compensation for all year round work as directed by the National Labour Commission's award last year. Now, the teachers have also set a Friday deadline for government to fulfill its obligation or face significant industrial action which could disrupt teaching and learning in the colleges. Listen to the president of CTAG, Maxwell Bunu.
And National Labour Commission ruled in our favor for the migration and also for us to be paid 1 month salary equivalent to all staff identified to have worked throughout the year in 2022. As I speak with you, only 4 colleges have been paid fully. The remaining 42 colleges payment is still outstanding. Then for the migration also, our appointment letters were supposed to be issued to us. As I speak with you, that has also not been done. Then we also still have some 3 colleges, that is McCoy College of Education, Dambaye College of Education, and Kokeri, whose brass top-up were still also outstanding. Others have been paid. These 3 colleges, theirs is still outstanding. These are the issues that we have, and we feel that if we do not inform the public, the government for that matter, to address these concerns now, then we don't know what will happen when the new government takes office.
And what would this mean for the academic calendar?
That's the more reason why we are trying to draw the attention of Ghanaians now that the outgoing government, they have been with us. They understood the issue and they have made a promise. So we only trying to appeal to them earnestly that they should take steps to complete what we have started. The arbitral award that we won, they were in power when this whole thing started. It was Federal Salary Commission took us to National Labour Commission. So if this is not done, it means that January 13, 2025, my colleagues are not happy. They are very angry. So there's no way any college lecturer would step his or her feet into the classroom to teach. This is what they have been saying. And I know nobody was going to teach come 13th January 2025.
Well, so that's the concern of the teachers at the colleges of education. Their president, Maxwell Bunu, they're expressing the concerns they have. But the National Labour Commission is already wading in with the Executive Secretary of Usua Samoa, indicating that even though they have not been officially served with the intention to strike, they will intervene to avert the industrial action.
Yes, I have not received a formal letter from them, but I've heard it in the news that they will be declaring a strike because the award that was given them has not been paid.
What's the intending to do about it?
Oh yeah, when there is non-compliance of our orders, we seek enforcement from the court. So at the moment, Christmas is just around the corner. So when we resume in January, we will take the necessary action to make sure that there is compliance.
But they say they went back on their strike on 31st of this month.
Well, I don't know, but 31st, on the 1st is a holiday. So from the 2nd when we return, I'm sure that we will take the necessary action. However, having heard from the news, we are going to be, I'm in the office now, we are going to work on it and see what the intervention we can make before the time.
And as we speak, time is running out, especially for the principals of the colleges of education, PRINCOF collectively as they are known. The president of the group, Dr. Samuel Atitonu, is joining us now because, Doc, I recall the last industrial action by CTAG. It did disrupt teaching and learning on campus. I do recall even the students asking that the schools be shut. We're likely to see that again, no?
Good evening to you and to your listeners and to the CTAG president. Congratulations to him. He just got elected last month, Mr. Maxwell Bunu, so I'm happy to speak on this matter. We've been engaging, and I think that, yes, the payment have been delayed as he has articulated, one of them being the all-year-round payment, which some colleges actually have received payment, but the rest have been processed, but it's left with payment. So first of all, we sympathize with them, but I should think that with respect to the migration, as he spoke of, as we speak now, there's a letter from the Minister of Finance, and we are in Christmas or the New Year. But even today, we have had some extensive meeting with GTEC, myself, and my General Secretary or the leadership. We're writing controller And I want to assure them, I think I would really appeal to them to be very patient. They have been patient all the way up to this point. Nobody is treating the matter lightly.
But that's where the problem is, isn't it, Doc? It appears that.
Can I finish?
Yeah, I know. But just sorry for intervening for the sake of time. It appears all you are asking for, together with the National Labour Commission, is time, which they say they do not have.
Yeah, but I'm coming to a point. So if you interject, it's not helping.
We're running on time.
I'm going to give you some information.
Yeah, we're running on time. That's why I had to intervene.
Well, then we may have to speak later. I have some latest information I want to give you, but you won't allow me to speak.
Interesting. So let's hear you then. What will you do? Because we don't have time.
Just today, the whole day we are spending our time at controller, and we have all agreed that they have to actually work on it to make sure that they get paid. So everybody is concerned about it. It has actually been delayed. It's not in the interest of the college principals or GTEC or Fair Wages and government. So we are appealing to them. If you listen to the NLC, they say we are in this celebration period. But I want to assure them from our end, brink of taking the matters very seriously, and something is being done, and I'm convinced that they may not get to that end. But we are appealing to them, let's not use strike as the means to always resolve this. They have a case which everybody is so much concerned with them. Thank you.
Okay, I'm grateful for your time, but of course, as we're pointing out earlier today, there are a number of concerns even emerging at the high school level. And as we know, CHAS itself, even at the high school level, have been raising concerns because they believe that some outstanding amounts of monies have to be released from the Ministry of Education on that.
Yes, before the reopening the schools. And thankfully, we have on the line General Secretary of the National Council of the Parent Teachers Association, Gabson Kofi Raphael. Hopefully, his line is clearer this time around. Mr. Raphael, thank you for joining us on Newsnight. Have there been any form of communication to you on the matter? Unfortunately, it's interesting that we just can't seem to have him on the line. I'm told that he's back on. Mr. Gabson, are you with us? Unfortunately, we would have loved to hear from them on their position on this situation. And that's how we take a break and get to business on Newsnight. What do we have?
In business, we'll be looking at some issues that have to do with the financial sector, especially the banking sector, and also we'll look at some update that has to do also on the currency market as well. Now, the business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTM Business, Kingdom Books and Stationery, Syntex Tanks, and Pepsodent Herbal and Charcoal. My name is Winston Taki. Coming up, financial economist Dr. Benjamin Amoah has joined calls for the Bank of Ghana to increase the capital requirement of banks to strengthen their financial positions. He is of the view that the current capital requirement of 400 million cedis is too low to support Ghana's economic recovery.
What they did was to increase the minimum capital. One of the conditions was to increase the minimum capital from 120 million to 400 million. That was one of the strategies to build the muscles or the balance sheets of the entire banking sector at that point in time. As we speak now, we may even have to revisit that particular decision and increase the capital base of the banks again, looking at what has happened over time and the fact that price levels have increased and the CD is looking over time. So it is indeed true that there was a need for the cleanup to take place.
That was financial economist Dr. Benjamin Amoah. Now, Associate Director at Deloitte Ghana, Dennis Brown, has pointed out that the incoming John Mahama administration will have to provide a practical steps of shoring up the country's revenue if it intends to review the International Monetary Fund program. He made the comment after Deloitte in its West Africa in Focus report forecast Ghana's economy to further expand by 5.1% in 2025.
May not result in immediate impact, then your fiscal space is immediately impacted. So that balancing act is what they need to pay attention to. One, how to innovatively generate revenue, create more space for them to increase the various policies that they plan in their manifestos, and that eventually should lead to some growth. I think it's the balancing act for me, considering where we are in terms of being on the IMF program and the fiscal targets that we expected to achieve whilst being on that program.
That was Dennis Brown, the Associate Director at Deloitte Ghana. Now moving on, economist Professor Lord Mensah has expressed worry the inability to pass the mini budget could send wrong signals to investors. He stated, for example, that the government cannot fail late interest payment, a situation that could occur since no financial provision has been made.
Yes, I do, because the investor confidence can easily go down. I mean, investors come to the economy to trade. I mean, they trade and they expect that whatever activities they generate in the economy, they will go back and then pay those who are giving them the money. So if there's a delay in government business, I mean, you don't expect any investor to come in with his money.
That was Professor Lord Mensah speaking there. Now, professional services firm Deloitte is forecasting a further decline in inflation in 2025 due to a more stable cedi and falling domestic food prices. According to the leading global firm, inflation will average 11.9% next year. The following report has more.
Ghana's inflation declined in 6 of the 11 months so far in 2024, thanks partly to the effect of high interest rates. As of November 2024, the country's inflation rate was 23%, a far cry from the government's year-end target of 15%. Ghana's 11 months of 2024 inflation average is 22.85%, down from 2023's average of 40.28%. Deloitte West Africa revealed this in its sneak preview of 2025. It explained that the declining trend is projected to continue in 2025 at an average of 11.9%. This is still above the upper band of the Bank of Ghana's 8% plus or minus 2% inflation target. It added that a more stable cedi easing domestic food prices and warning supply-side pressures will contribute to the projected decline in Ghana's inflation rate.
That's all for Business on Newsline, brought to you by MTN Business, Kingdom Books and Stationery, Syntex Tanks, and Pepsodent Herbal and Charcoal. My name is Winston Taki. Back to you.
Thank you,
Thompson.
All right, see you later. Now, the National Democratic Congress, NDC, is accusing the Electoral Commission of engaging in illegality in the recollation of the disputed constituencies. The EC on Saturday recollated and declared 7 out of 9 constituencies in dispute, despite a pending case at the Supreme Court. The NDC, after a High Court ruling which ordered the EC and the police to complete the recollation process for 6 of the constituencies, filed a case at the Supreme Court to prevent the EC from going ahead. First, listen to the Director of Electoral Services at the EC, Benjamin Banobu's justification for going ahead with the collation.
I must tell you that we do not have any knowledge of such a petition.
You have not been served?
No, we have not been served. As at now, we are not being served. We have invited all the parties to bring their agency here. And you see, the regulations said that if an agency is not there, the exercise should continue. But we have sent invitation to all of them. It was decided that we come here today for the political parties to bring the hard copies to authenticate that result before the commission will accept that soft copy result that was used. Incidentally, when we came, the political parties could not provide the hard copy to authenticate that result. So that issue has still not been resolved. And therefore, we will also refer that issue to the Electoral Commission for them to make a determination. And so for the 7, we are done with them.
You are the EC. How soon are you taking a decision on this too?
As I indicated, it is management decision. We, as operatives, have been here to work. The results will be taken to management for management to decide on them. So I cannot say today or tomorrow, but I don't think it will be too late for it.
Well, the NDC says the EC's action is an illegality. Dr. Rashid Tanko Computer is Deputy Director of Elections.
In participation in politics, this gentleman is openly known to be a member of the MPP, and I'm saying that evidence abounds. What kind of diligence did they even do to pick him into their district? Okay. And they brought that gentleman that morning. You saw that the returning officer of Tema Central raised some issues and says he wanted the 2 parties to come on board to address the issues before he could proceed Then these commissioners, because they had a wicked agenda against NDC, brought this gentleman to do the declaration for them. That's the kind of illegality they perpetrated for Tema Central, the good people of Tema Central. And we are not going to allow it to lie low. We will make sure that we use everything legally within our mandate and within the jurisdiction of Ghana. It's not known to the law. The CI 127 doesn't recognize anybody as deputy returning officer. The CI 127, Check Regulation 2, is talking about returning officer. And then they are talking of the commission may appoint assistant to assist it. They didn't say the deputy returning officer. There's a difference between an assistant and a deputy returning officer. The law doesn't talk of a deputy returning officer. So where they have gotten it from, that's why I'm saying the Electoral Commission, in fact, is fast becoming the most lawless institution in Ghana. They just sit down there and do things that suit them.
Well, that is NDC's Rashid Tanko Computer. Meanwhile, the declaration and counter-declaration is already preparing grounds for drama on January 7 as the earlier NDC parliamentary candidates vow to take their seats during inauguration. Listen to Baba Sadiko for Kaikwe Central and Irabna Orban of Ablekuma North.
In this particular instance, we are standing by the initial declaration that has been made. Eventually, on December 6th, we'll see how we proceed with these things.
You go to Parliament for...
Of course, and for us, we duly believe from the pink sheets and all the coalition that we've done that we've won the election.
By the grace of God, hard work, support from the good people of Ablekuma North, I won the elections fair and square. I won this election...
With all the polling stations?
Oh boy. I won this elections fair and square. Arabna Obin won Ablekuma North parliamentary elections, and she has been declared. So far as I'm concerned, the returning officer, with the evidence in front of him, declared Arabna Obin as the MP-elect for Ablekuma North.
And you heard there El Baba Sadiq and then Irabna Orbin of Ablekuma North. And joining me in studio is my colleague James Aveji giving us updates on the issues before the court. James, what is the order from the Chief Justice?
Well, it's a 3-point order from the Chief Justice to all courts that have electoral issues pending before them. And it reads... the Chief Justice is virtually ordering the court to open to attend to these cases on Saturdays as well as holidays to expedite action on the issues. And so for all courts that will be going on vacation, every court in the country, including the Supreme Court, would be open, and justices who are appointed by the Chief Justice to sit on the case are also expected to stay behind and prosecute these issues.
But what's the latest we're learning on the NDC stay of execution at the Supreme Court?
The latest coming in is that this case that has been filed on Friday, the Supreme Court has set the 26th of January to sit on them and adjudicate them for a final decision on them. We know that the NDC went to court bringing issues of Ablekuma Okaikwe Central involving Baba Sadiq, Irabna Obing of Ablekuma North constituency, Amenope Philibert Fume, who is coming from the
Go ahead.
From the constituency of Frank Anodompre, which is in Sawam Idrejiri constituency, Ebi Bright from Tema Central, are all applicants of the issue. And so the Supreme Court has set the 26th of January to sit on these cases, 26th and 27th of January to sit on these cases at exactly do I say January? Of December at 9:30 a.m.
Thank you, James, for that update. Now, the New Patriotic Party is initiating processes to carry out what they describe as postmortem following the outcome of the 2024 presidential and parliamentary elections. The party's presidential candidate, Mahamudu Bawumia, was the first individual to concede defeat even before the Electoral Commission revealed that John Mahama was the winner for the election. Now, while the Vice President and presidential candidate of the governing New Patriotic Party, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, secured 4,657,304, representing 41.61%, the NPP's woes stretch towards Parliament, where the party's seats dwindled from 137 to 88, depicting a significant drop in the political fortunes of the party. At a news conference today, the national chairman of the New Patriotic Party, Stephen Ayensu in team, says the NPP is initiating processes to rebuild the party for the 2028 elections.
Our aim was to secure an emphatic victory at the polls, and we worked very hard at it. As a party, we put in our best efforts in the campaign. There is no doubt that the outcome of the elections was not what we hoped for. We may not have won the battle, but we haven't lost the war on the quest for a better Ghana, shaped by the ideals and philosophies of the New Patriotic Party. As leadership of the party, we share in the pain of all party faithful who have been devastated by the outcome of the elections. We understand your disappointments because we feel it too, just as the hundreds of thousands of Ghanaians who invested their hopes and dreams in this campaign do. As a party that was formed by individuals from all sectors of our society, who are motivated by the ideals of development and freedom, we seek to grow the individual liberties of our people by growing a strong democracy. The party will, in the months of January 2025, set up an effective and objective election review committee to undertake a postmortem into the outcome of the election. The committee will engage all party stakeholders and the general public on the factors and circumstances leading to our defeat. We have a firm belief that the work of the election review committee will enable our people to express their concerns and to bring out suggestions and reforms, changes, and other critical issues necessary to restructuring our party. One critical area that must occupy the attention of the election review committee is the possible need for constitutional amendments.
And you heard the chairman of the NPP, Mr. Stephen in team there. And joining me now is Deputy General Secretary Haruna Mohammed to give us more details on how the party is preparing for 2028. Mr. Mohammed, we're grateful for your time on Newsnight. How do you intend to overturn this fortune in the next 4 years?
Thank you very much. I would say good evening to your cherished viewers out there. The national chairman of the party has spoken. This is not the first time that the MPP had fell behind in terms of numbers of members of parliament in the House of Ghana's parliament. In 1992, we boycotted the elections for the parliamentary elections, and we went and ruled a stolen verdict. We went and then we aligned to each other, we developed strategies, and we came back very strongly. What is very interesting in this election is that when you look at the number of votes that we got in 2020 and the number of votes that the NDC got in 2020, the NDC repeated their number, and our people, because of apathy, the strong apathy that befell on us as a party, made our members not to come out to vote. The good thing is that they didn't go to vote the NDC. It means that they are still in love with their party. So it is left with us to rally them and then give them the confidence and the trust so that they would come back and make sure that we are able to claim back the victory. I am very confident, very, very confident that 2028 would be for the NPP.
Well, we also understand that the party is initiating some investigations into reasons why it lost the election. When is this going to start? Could you reposition yourself? I'm losing you there. Kindly reposition yourself for me. Yes.
Okay, can you hear me now?
It's better now.
On this particular matter, he said after the 7th of January, where the MPP hands over power to the NDC, this review, the election review committee, will be put together to comb around and meet the various stakeholders to be able to get feedback in terms of what has happened in these particular elections. We have done the Osafuma Full Committee before. We have done several other committees after elections, either victory or loss. So we have been able to do all these things. So we'll get this thing done as soon as possible because we don't have time. We need to hit the road and ensure that we heal the wounds and we are able to consolidate and get reunited and get back to victory.
Thank you so much, Mr. Haruna Mohammed. He's the Deputy General Secretary of the New Patriotic Party. And around this time, we go for sports. Ms. Bao, what's happening?
Yeah, well, the Ghana Football Association have congratulated President-elect John Dramani Mahama, and they have urged him to invest in key areas of football to unearth world-class talent. Now, they communicated this in a statement issued earlier today where they acknowledged the unifying power of football in Ghana, emphasizing its role in bringing the nation together. The FA reaffirmed its commitment to working closely with President Mahama's government to elevate Ghanaian football to the highest possible standards. Now, the association underscored the importance of significant investment in key areas such as infrastructure, grassroots development, and talent nurturing as essential for the growth of the game. Well, while also congratulating him, they call on him to make it a point to fulfill his promises, especially in areas that has to do with the development of the infrastructure to help promote the game. Well, the Black Galaxies have very difficult task ahead after being held to a goalless draw by Nigeria at the Accra Sports Stadium in the first leg of the African Nations Championship qualifiers. Well, the head coach Didi Dramani mentioned that his side did their very best to get a win. However, they'll be looking to ensure that they qualify when they face their Nigerian counterpart a week from now.
The point is that it is not possible for you to have every player, and it's not also possible that every player looks like the same person. Every player has a different quality, and we look at what we want to do, and we look at what we have created in terms of the style of play, and we look at who can fit in at that material moment. So in your face, this player might be a better player than the other one, and in another one's face, that player fits into what he wants to do. And so it's all about the institution of the programs that is in place.
Didi Dramani there. Well, just to mention also that the Ghana Black Maidens, that's the under-17 girls national team, won the Maiden Waffle B tournament that was held over the weekend. They defeated Nigeria 5-4 on penalties to lift that trophy.
Exciting. Thank you so much, Ms. Bao. Now, it's 3 days to the Joy Family Party in the Park, happening on the 26th of December at the Bree Botanical Gardens. For only 200 Ghana cedis, you can create unforgettable memories with your family while enjoying an exciting lineup of performances. The event will feature incredible acts like the Kwampa Band, Kamido, and Kwabna Kwabna. To give you a glimpse of what you can expect on the big day, let's take you down memory lane with highlights from some thrilled patrons at last year's event.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1,
whole year it's been working, going up and down. We've been busy, so we've decided to use today to have fun and sit down as a family.
Very exciting, very, very exciting. It's my first time and I'm so glad to be here. There's no place to be than here.
Oh, we've been dancing, having fun. The children went to the bouncy castle, so we are cool. We are just having fun.
So the first position goes to the Akbeku Blido family.
We are so happy, so happy. You know, I told you from the beginning that there's something special we are doing that's going to guarantee us the first position, and we got it, and we are so happy.
And you should know that it's going to be exciting on the 26th of December at the Bree Botanical Gardens. That's how we wrap up for this edition of Newsnight. Good evening.